Okay, Chapter 7, Section 8, Scale Models. This is the last section in the chapter. Very large and very small objects are often modeled. A scale model is a three-dimensional model that accurately represents a solid object. So this is very similar to what we've been doing with scale, like scale drawings and things like that. Now these are just 3D models of the same thing. A scale factor gives you a ratio of the dimensions of the model to the dimensions of the actual. And this is stuff that we've already done. This entire box here is exactly what we've done. We've done model over actual. Okay, so it's the same whether you're dealing with a scale model or whether you're dealing with just scale factors or scale blueprints or pictures like we've been doing. So, tell whether each scale reduces, enlarges, or preserves the size of an actual object. Okay, so if it reduces, then it's going to be smaller. If it enlarges, then it's going to be bigger. And if it preserves, it's going to stay the same. Okay, and that'll help you out. It'll stay the same. Okay, so now we have, again, for all of these, we're going to do model over actual. Okay, so what it says is 1 inch to 1 yard. Now the thing is for these is we need, when we're doing the scale factor in these, they want it in the same unit. So they don't want inches and yards, they want inches over inches. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with it the way it is. So we're going to have 1 inch over 1 yard. But the problem is we need to turn yards into inches. Okay, so if you remember, there's 12 inches in a foot and 3 feet in a yard. So that gives us, what that's going to be is 1 inch over 36 inches. Because remember, 1 yard is 12 times 3, which is 36 inches. Okay, so now 1 inch to 36 inches, those are both reduced. So you just have 1 over 36. Now, since we have a fraction, it is a reduction because it is less than 1. Okay, so 1/36 is a reduction. All right, so now let's try the next one. 1 meter over 10 centimeters. So again, we're going to start with the way it is, 1 meter over 10 centimeters. Okay, and we need to have them in the same units, so we're going to turn them both into centimeters. So 1 meter is how many centimeters? So you remember, King Hector died by drinking chocolate milk. So here's centimeters and here's meters. So 100 meters, or excuse me, 100 centimeters are in 1 meter. So if we need to turn them both into centimeters. So 10 centimeters is 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. Okay, so 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters, and then we keep the 10 centimeters that was already there because it's already in the right units. Now, we need to reduce this. Okay, so now we have 100 divided by 10. 100 divided by 10 is 10. So since it's 10 over 1, 10 centimeters over 1 centimeter, since we ended up with a whole number, or 10, that is a enlargement because it is larger than 1. Okay, so 10 over 1, or 10, is an enlargement. Okay, so now let's go down to this next one. I'm going to scoot up. We have 12 inches to 1 foot. Okay, so 12 inches over 1 foot. If we turn them both into inches, 12 inches, 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. And then we reduce that and we get 1. So we get 1 inch to 1 inch. And since it stays exactly the same, this is a preserves. Okay, so now you have an example of each one. You have an example of a reduction, less than 1, you get a fraction. You have an example of an enlargement, 10 over 1, or 10, a whole number, so it enlarges. And you have an example of where you equal 1, and it preserves. It stays exactly the same. Okay, so now it says, what scale factor relates a 12-inch scale model to a 6-foot man? So again, I'm going to put M over A for model over actual. We have 12 inches over 6 feet, and again we need to turn them into the same unit. So we're going to keep the inches and we're going to turn 6 feet into inches. Well, since there's 12 inches in a foot, 12 times 6 gives me 72, so that's 72 inches. Okay, so then we reduce that. 12 and 72 are both divisible by 12. We just did the math right here. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 72 divided by 12 is 6. So you get 1 inch to 6 inches, or 1 to 6 would be your scale, or 1/6 if you want to write it as a fraction. Either of these in red would be considered acceptable as your answer. Okay, so now this one is the metric system. Let's scoot this up. But I'm going to have you, similar to the one we just did, you're going to find the scale factor. So I'm going to turn it off for a minute. I'm going to have you try E on your own, and then we'll go back over it in just a minute. Okay, so here we go. Model over actual again. I write down what's given in the problem, 20 meters over 3 kilometers. And again, we need to turn them into the same units. So using King Hector died by drinking chocolate milk, if you need to write it down. To go from kilometers to meters, you need to move 3 places. So 3 kilometers is 3,000 meters. And now I just need to reduce. I take off a 0 and I get 2 over 300, and then I divide both by 2 and I get 1 over 150, or you could write it also with the colon, 1 to 150. All right, letter F. A model of a 24-foot tall bridge was made using a scale 4 inches to 2 feet. What is the height of the model? Okay, so again, model over actual. We start with what we have, which is 4 inches over 2 feet. Then we need to turn it into equals, and then we have 24 feet down here. We need to figure out what is the height of the model. So 2 times 12. You could have cross-multiplied if you wanted to, but if you don't want to do all that work, you can just multiply. 2 times 12 is 24. 4 times 12 is 48, so your answer is 48 inches. You could have also cross-multiplied 24 times 4 and divided that by 2 and gotten the exact same answer. Okay, letter G. A model was built using the scale 2 centimeters to 0.01 meters. If the model is 30 centimeters long, what is the length of the actual object? Find the scale factor. So I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to have you try that one, and then we'll go over it together. All right, so here we go. So I set up my proportion. 2 centimeters over 0.01 millimeters equals 30 centimeters over x. Cross multiply and divide, I get 0.15 millimeters. But then they still want us to find the scale factor. So what I had to do was I set it up 2 centimeters over 0.01 millimeters, and we need to turn everything into millimeters. So if you need to do it again, King Hector died by drinking chocolate milk. To go from centimeters to millimeters, you have to move it over 1 place. So 2 centimeters is 20 millimeters. So 20 millimeters over 0.01 millimeters. And then you divide them both by 0.01 to get 1 in your denominator. So 20 divided by 0.01 gave me 2,000. So I get 2,000 millimeters over 1 millimeter, or 2,000 over 1. So that would be an enlargement because you end up with a whole number. Okay, nice job today. We'll see you tomorrow.